when I started my business, I started with a lot of, I would say, disadvantages. Disadvantages. To give you a little bit more details, I didn't have a way to really get a lease from a shop. I couldn't get a lease in a shop.
Yeah, why not?
Because my legal status was not according to law at that time.
Yeah.
I didn't have a social security, thus I didn't have a checking account, thus I didn't have a lot of things that they are required.
Yeah. So you couldn't.
Couldn't.
There's the system set up.
That is correct.
And then you couldn't enter into the system.
But
let's back up a little bit and let's just share, what company it is or what it is that you're talking about that you're doing, the company that you started.
Yeah, my company is called Advanced Tinting by Caesar LLC. And when I started in Moore Park 30 years ago, about 1995, something like that, maybe earlier, but I'm not sure. I don't recall exactly the time. What I recall is the circumstances under which my company started. I was fired from my job doing window tinting, which is what my company does.
So how long? So you came over here. So how long were you in the country?
7 years.
So you were in the country for 7 years.
For 7 years, working for a company,
then you get fired.
Correct. We had a conflict of interest.
Okay. And what was that? Can you go into it or no?
Yes. Yes. I was hired by another company who didn't do window tinting, but lower trucks. They sold the equipment. You bring in your SUV and your truck or your SUV, and they lower it. They put all the equipment to make it lower and really, really stylish. That's what they did. And they needed someone who do the window tinting. So somebody referred me to that person, and that person contacted me. And after work, I used to finish at about 5 o'clock, which to me back at that time was really early. I was like, oh my God, in the United States, you finish working at 5.
So were you doing window tinting in
No. This is something I learned from the ground up. Yeah. Anyway, so I used to go to this company after work and just do 1 or 2 cars that they had there.
Okay. Yeah.
So that way I could supply myself with extra income. And I thought it was not going to be a problem because I was working after hours. I do my due diligence working in my company where I work. And then after hours, I do something on the side. This company became really essential in me getting my own shop once they move out. When they were moving out of their location, which is where my shop is located now, he talked with the property manager and convinced him to let me continue the lease without paperwork. So I was continuing the lease without my name being there. Thus, it gives me a chance of me to do my own production, my own shop.
Yeah, that was your opportunity.
Correct. After the lease finished, the property manager was convinced that I was reliable enough that he signed me a lease on my name without all the requirements per se. Yeah. He was very, very generous, and he was really nice, really nice. And that's how I started. It was very challenging to me because everybody told me my location was not very good. My location, to use an American vernacular, he said, your location sucks.
What did you think?
I thought, well, this provides me with a very low rent. And who is not going to follow quality? Oh, I get it. If I do quality, reliable work, people will go. I don't care if I'm in the middle of anywhere. Yeah. They will follow somebody who is reliable and does a good job. And affordable prices. Not cheap, but
Yeah, they were saying that because I mean you're tucked way in the back. Like I remember the first time that I went over there and I brought my car over there to you because I asked around and I got referred to you and like I heard that you were the only place to take the cars to get window tinted, and I did. I had to drive through the business park in order to find your place. Is that what they were talking about? Like,
correct,
you're not
correct.
on the
I'm not
busy
gonna
street. People aren't going to
because
see
you know the formula: location, location, location.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, if there's one thing that destroys location, is quality of work and reliability. Reliability, which I have a hard time pronouncing, means when a customer has a problem, I have a problem. And I'm not going to let my customer carrying a problem when I can fix it. So I always go to the limit in order to provide my customer with customer satisfaction that he was looking in the first place. We all make mistakes. Sometimes things don't go exactly how we expect. But a very good practice in business is always take responsibility of that, and people respect that. And although the initial feeling is uncomfort, once you take care of something, the customer pays you with their trust. And the trust is the most difficult thing to keep because it requires that you will always be there. Always. When customers trust you, they don't question your prices. They just ask you, when can you do it? And,
they know that you're going to solve the problem.
Correct.
And
correct.
you know that you're not only are you going to solve the problem, but you're also not going to create additional problems for them in the future. That's what they're looking for.
One of the things that sometimes people get surprised is when they bring me new cars and customers are nervous because they're going to bring this brand new car to this location that is kind of in the back of everything, and this guy who has a weird accent, and they asked me, have you ever done this car? And I said, no, I never done this car. But if I was you, and I will be looking for the person who probably will have the most experience and the skills to do this kind of car that nobody has done because it's brand new, it's just a new design, I would look for me because I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I have a lot of skills that take time in order to achieve. Many techniques. If this doesn't work, then this works. And it only takes me about 15 to 20 minutes to figure it out. So I told the customer, why don't you stay here? Why don't you watch us work? Because I noticed the guy was a little bit nervous.
Of course.
Okay?
He just bought his baby.
Yeah, and he brought me it was a very expensive vehicle. It was $150,000, vehicle. And I said, let me give you a chair. And I sat him inside the shop observing what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And he was paying very close attention. So I played a little bit also. I was just like grabbing and, and pressing here.
Making some
and
extra noises.
I started laughing, and the guy knew that I was kidding. And I said, I can tell immediately what technique I'm going to use. Yeah. I said, I got it. I said, just watch us work. And he did. And when we finished, he was very happy because he saw the entire process from the beginning to the end of something that I have never done before. And it just took me, as I said, 15 to 20 minutes to figure it out. So that kind of experience is hard to convey if you haven't been doing the same thing for all these years. And then the fact that we are in a difficult to find location provides me with something that is really important, which is low overhead. My location, if it was in the middle of the avenue where people go by all the time, would cost me, let's say, $3,000, and it cost me $1,000 where I am. Thus, when times are difficult, which every year we have the winter time. In the winter time, we don't get as many customers, but then we just survive.
Yeah.
Okay. We already know how cyclical this is. Therefore, we pay attention to save and make as much money where we have a lot of work, and then we save and make sure we just survive for the winter time.
Yeah, you got to pack away.
Yeah, and that's how we do it. But the location, has been to me one of my biggest assets, because everybody else around me has gone out of business because they pay a high price to be in a more visible way. But word of mouth is
I mean, word of mouth. I mean, I was thinking that the situation that you're in, you've grown your business. You haven't grown your business by, being the biggest billboard out there, so that anybody that sees you is just coming in and they're highly skeptical of whatever it is that you're going to do. They're probably also shopping bottom dollar, not the ideal customer that you want, but the way that it sounds like you've grown your business is by providing the best service with quality materials, and really giving your customer an amazing experience, so that they then, the next car that they bring, there's no question, like, I'm bringing it to Caesar. Or if they hear any of their friends say, hey, we need some window tint, they're just like, dude, don't even look at any other places. Just call up Caesar, go to him. He's going to take care of you. And so now the quality of customer that you're getting, right, is a customer, just like what you're saying, is a customer that trusts you. And then your new customers that have been referred to you, they already have buy-in, So like the customers that are coming in your door, much higher quality than the customers that are coming into the door that of the shop that is on the main boulevard, and people are just driving by and cruising in.
Yeah, honesty is a very important factor as well.
Yeah.
I had customers who come by to me and they went to a different shop and they said, well, I have this problem. And I look and I see the problem. And this is my first answer to that is, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you directions what to say. You go back with the person who did the job originally and ask him, please, to do this. Please replace it. And this time make sure to clean the rails, for instance. If I see that dirt on the edges was the problem. Or I say, do so-and-so. I give them the solution of the problem. And all they have to do is go back and say, this is what is happening. Can you please fix it? I said, any honest or genuine business person will say, absolutely, let me change it for you. Because the fact that you're telling them what is wrong, you know that they went somewhere else and they told you how to fix the problem. And they go back and the other person gets angry because they don't want to replace it.
No, of course not.
But it makes business sense that when something is wrong, just replace it. This is not like painting a car. It's very simple, replacing film. Yeah. I always was surprised how people didn't want to do that when it's so easy. Just remove it, clean it, and do it again. Mm-hmm. You're not going to spend a lot of money either, or time. And it's very easy to keep a customer happy, but they don't. And then they come back to me. I do what they were asking the other shop to do. I remove it and clean it and do the process that I'm telling them, that I did telling them to communicate with the other shop. Yeah. I show them, and then they see the results. And I said, you see how easy it was? Why didn't he want to do it for you? I don't take away business from other window tinting shops because I don't think that's ethical.
Yeah.
I take the business once they reject taking care of their own customer. Mm-hmm. And by doing that customer that it was not my customer now has become my customer. And guess what? Now it carries with him a big amount of trust. And that's what you lose when you don't take a customer. You don't take care of the customer. Have I have customers that they have been unhappy with me? Yes. But I can tell you that it's not been because quality of work or anything else except personal differences. They didn't like how I talked to them or.
Yeah, you can't please everybody. You know, everybody's unique. But like, where did this sense of integrity or the value for integrity come from for you personally?
Yeah, my father was a business owner for many years. He had a upholstery shop when we were growing up in his household in Guadalajara. I'm originally from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. And he was very well regarded and he was very well known in the city because he was really, really good in what he did. But also he had a high integrity into his work. And I remember him telling us that for him, how much you were making, it didn't compare of if it didn't matter if you compromise your work ethics. For him, one thing was work ethic was more important than money. For me, more money is more important than work ethics, but it doesn't exclude themselves. You can have a balance with both. And that's where I learned it. That's where I learned
So
it.
you saw it in your dad.
I saw it in my dad. I never had my own business until I came to United States.
Are there any stories that you remember where like your dad just like really?
My dad had a customer. Now, an upholstery man reupholsters the seats in your car and carpet and everything, doors and all that. And this customer, he brought in a specific material that he wanted to place in the seat. And my father said, I'm going to tell you that it's not going to work. And the guy said, why? He said, because it's going to rip. He didn't believe him. He said, well, you do it anyway. He said, okay, well, I'm just telling you, are you sure? Yes. So, okay. So my father did it. And he said, well, here it is. Look at it. Do you like it? Do you like what I did? Oh, yeah. And he looked, it's very thorough. Okay. And the customer was very happy. And he said, well, it's going to be this much. And the guy paid him. My father gave the keys to him. And when he sat down on the seat, it ripped. And my father said, I told you that it's going to rip. Why? Because the material you give me is very thin. You needed a more resilient material, but you didn't listen. I'm sorry. But he made sure I did a good job, and he made sure the customer checked that everything was fine, and then he sat down, as my father said. From the beginning, when you sit down, it's going to rip. So that's the kind of thing. Even though he told him, even though the customer didn't listen, my father replaced with correct material, and he only charged him for the material. He couldn't charge him for the labor of removing everything and doing everything again because he felt bad that the guy didn't really trust him, but had to learn hands-on experience.
Yeah, he had to learn his own way.
Yeah,
but it sounds like your dad really cared about people.
He did.
Like he really valued people.
Yeah, and remember, he raised a 12 children family.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot.
6 brothers and 6 sisters.
Wow.
My mom was mainly in charge of the girls.
Okay.
But my father was in charge of our education.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still in us all those principles, whether we understood them or accept them or not. Yeah. I actually understood better my father's concepts once I started doing business on my own.
Did you feel them kind of like naturally coming out?
Well, I remember.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, my father did this. It comes to you when you encounter or face a similar problem. But it's a process. So for other people who see obstacles and whatever they want to do, whether open a business or keeping a business floating, I'm telling you, resilience is the best you can do. Life always pushes you back. Yeah. Whatever you do,
you just keep on
going.
But
you just keep on going. I learned very recently the word entropy.
Yeah.
Entropy. Okay. Yeah. So nature naturally is entropic, which means it destroys things. The creative world has a tendency of destroying, or things disappearing, or
deteriorates, things fall apart,
correct,
rust.
entropy.
Totally.
So in order for us to survive in whatever endeavor we do, we encounter entropy. We encounter entropy all the time.
A force against us.
Even in relationships with your wife and your children, they're not harmonious.
Yeah.
So everywhere you look, there's always problems. So that's nature pushing back entropy, pushing entropy into you. Your job is to fight against entropy. So when do you fight entropy? When you move into a new place and everything looks disorganized, and then you fight against entropy and you organize everything. You bring order to chaos. Yeah. Okay, starting a business is the same thing. You're going to encounter entropy, chaos in everything. Your first job that you did, something went wrong. You can't be discouraged and say, I should not do window tinting anymore. Yeah. Just because you encounter an obstacle. You have to push and overcome that. You have to fight entropy. And then, and this happened to me, one of my mentors, my good friend, Phil, he came over when I opened the shop, and I was so proud of the shop. And I said, come take a look at it. And he looked at it, and he looked around. And I said, well, what do you think? And he brought his wife with him and turned his head to her and asked, how long do you give him?
Whoa.
And she replied with the coldest voice, 6 months. What he was saying...
This was one of your mentors?
Yes.
What?
What he was saying is that from their perspective, from their point of view, my operation for the location I had, regardless of what I was going to do, it will only have a life expectancy of 6 months. According to everything that they thought, about business.
Looking at it,
correct.
Was that something that was discouraging, or was that something that just like lit a fire under you?
Discouraging.
Okay.
I
so
thought,
how did you handle that?
Because I figured if this guy has so many years in business, and he looks at what I have done, and he gives me 6 months, he knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. But that's I think that words have influence over people, and like if you believed that, right? Like you could have only had 6 months, but you've had 30 years. So how did you not adopt that belief?
Okay,
that you only have 6 months and transcend that.
Another belief have to supersede that.
Yeah,
because your beliefs destroy fears.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe that you can jump from one building to another and that you're not gonna fall, and if you believe that nonsense, you're gonna fall into the ground. But that's of course
that's like
ridiculous.
Limitation.
Correct.
But unless the buildings are really close together.
But in this particular case, I figure I have no room to fail.
Yeah.
I had too much invested, and I thought, what is the worst case? I'm sorry. What is the worst case scenario? You work longer hours. You open when nobody else open. Thus, you open weekends. Let's say the majority of people want to work Monday through Friday. Well, if I open Saturday and nobody else does, guess what? I'm going to get all those customers. What if I open Sunday? I thought, okay, in times of struggle, I will open Sundays. And I did. I don't struggle anymore. That's why I don't open Sundays.
Do you think that you would have had that thought process if your mentor hadn't come and said, I only give him 6 months?
I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it to prove him wrong.
Well, not prove him wrong, but just
when he said that, he made me realize
an awareness.
Maybe I was not in the best position to open a business and make it successful. But I always knew. Maybe this is the reason why I knew this. that if I really push it and I sustain this rhythm, if I keep on going, that I will be successful, is because for 1 year, I work out of my garage. Now, where I lived was hard to find, and yet the customers found a way. And now thinking, okay, this guy is bringing me a brand new car. He has to go through all the maze of the streets where I live, and then he finds me, and now he sees that I'm going to work out of my garage. How much trust this guy has to have to leave his car for half a day in somebody else's garage? This is not even established business. It's just I was just doing it out of my garage. If they find my place, then this is an industrial area. This is where people come here all the time. They're going to find me. And what was the reason why they brought it to me when I was there? Reliability and quality. I was very thorough. I'm always been very thorough. But every single one, every single job that I do, to me is me taking my car to get it tinted with some guy with the weird accent. I don't care anything else except you do a good job, and if something goes wrong, you fix it. That's all I care. And if I give that to my customers, I will keep them. They will come, and that's a formula that has worked to me for all these long years. Thus, I was not discouraged. I thought, no, if I notice things start getting difficult, I'm gonna work Sundays, because nobody works Sundays. And how many people really, they don't have any other day to bring their car to get fixed?
Yeah, a lot of people are working themselves.
So that's what I did when I was starting. I worked 7 days a week.
So you had prior experience where you knew that this could work.
Well, when I was working at the place, when I was an employee, we worked Monday to Friday.
Oh, okay.
And I was there, and I remember I started learning English immediately. When I came to the United States, the first thing I did, I went to night school, because I couldn't express myself. I couldn't communicate with anybody else. But that time, in 1988, and I was in Thousand Oaks area, there were very few Latinos that we basically knew each other. We waved at each other when we saw each other. So I went to night school to learn English in order to communicate. My boss and everybody around spoke English. Therefore, for me, it was very important to learn that. And once I felt comfortable communicating, then I just knew it's a matter of practice and self-improvement after that. But why am I telling you that? Because to me, it was always a way of advancing, whether it's English, whether it's analyzing how business go. Oh, I remember. So when I was listening, overhearing customers approaching my boss and said, "Hey, can you do it on a Saturday?" And he said, "No, we don't work Saturdays." I thought, why not? Why not? Oh, we want 2 days off. You mean Saturday and Sunday? Because Saturday, whatever, they wake up, and Sunday they go to the lake. My boss used to have a boat, and that was his thing. He went to the lake, and I thought, I don't have a boat. I don't mind working, because I'm gonna make $50 in the day. You know what I mean? I rather work the day. That's how much money I make for a day. $50. Now, to your American ears, that sounds, oh my God, very little. To me, it was a treasure. It allowed me to buy meat for the whole week, and it was so, I was so appreciative of this. I have made a lot of money in this business, but I can tell you, none of the money that I have made ever tasted the way $50 per day tasted back then. Because to me, it was such an improvement and such a motivating amount.
Because it was such a change for you.
Correct. And that's very motivating. Anyway, so when I noticed that people were asking, and they were uh, um, rejected because they wanted work on Saturday and we didn't work Saturdays. I figured, if I ever open my own window tinting shop, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna work on the weekends. And then I started thinking, what 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 prevents me from opening my window tinting shop? And I started noticing, it's not a really big investment. You don't need thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. What can go wrong? You don't get cancer because you're spraying soapy water? What is the worst thing that can happen to you when you are doing it? Oh, you ruin a piece of film and you replace it? What kind of injuries can you get by doing this job? Cutting your finger with a razor blade? I thought, oh my gosh, this is a very easy thing to make money. Yeah. And thus, I pursued that goal to once have my own operation.
So how long since from having that realization to having your own shop, how long was it?
Oh, several years. I realized that within the first year I was working on window tinting.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm going to do this myself.
And then I pay attention in, what kind of tools we need. Where do you buy the film? I was paying attention. And after 7 years of working for the same person, remember I told you we had a conflict of interest because after hours, I was working for this other company that ended up giving me the lease, take over the lease of their location.
Okay.
Then my boss said that was a conflict of interest. I need to let go of that account or integrate it to our business, to his business. Mm-hmm. So I understand now. Because I probably will do the same. Mm-hmm. And I refused. And he said, well, I'm going to have to let you go. And then since the moment he let me go, I was working out of my garage. And then I used to go to other window tinting shops and not actually ask for a job, but I gave him my number. And I said, whenever you have an overflow of cars, let's say you can only handle 3, but you get 4 or 5, call me and I'll do the other 2 for you. And you just give me a percentage. Yeah. And that's what I started doing. So I was all over. I went here and I went there. So that period of struggle to me gave me a lot of practice in how to work under extreme conditions. Or I would not say extreme. For instance, when I work out of my shop, I have everything controlled. The water that I use is filtered, very, very pure water. If it's a little bit windy, I close the doors. I control the environment. But when you work for other people,
you don't have control.
You don't have control. Yeah, I remember I used to take customers who wanted me to go and do my tinting in their garage, not knowing that their garage was full of stuff everywhere, and the car barely fit. So I start saying, okay, if you need me to do your car in your garage, you're gonna have to have a garage where I can open the doors.
You might have to do that in order to put some tint on, right?
So I didn't have so much control, but I had to work against those odds. And you know what that does? In life, when you have to overcome struggles, it makes you stronger.
It does.
It gives you more skills. You have to be resilient and you have to be creative in order to overcome obstacles.
Yeah, teaches you how to problem solve.
Yeah, and those are I would call personal growth skills that you acquire every time you struggle. And I hear people saying, "Oh, I struggle a lot, but I don't want my kids to struggle." And I'm thinking, you are gonna make your kids very weak. Don't be afraid of struggles. You have to overcome them. So it's a blessing when you have struggles. Nobody likes struggling, but the end result is really good.
Yeah, you become a better, more capable, stronger person.
Yeah.
It's able to do more for you and then also more for the people that are around you.
So once my business was established and it was surviving just by word of mouth, right now I go to the shop. I have no appointments. I don't worry about it. We just go over there, open the door, somebody will show up. Today is an example. Today I thought, okay, it's raining, nobody's gonna show up. I'm gonna do some cleaning. I had some projects that I wanted to do at the shop to improve, and some guy showed up, and I said, "Why are you not home?" He said, "Today's my only day off." And I said, "But it's raining." Now, keep in mind, I was trying to send him away in a very subtle way. Why are you here? Why aren't you home? Drinking some chocolate or some hot tea. And the guy said, "Well, this is my only day off." And I said, "But it's raining." And he said, "Didn't you say that when it rains, you get a better installation?" And I said, "Yes, I did." It is true. When it rains, your installation is even more because all
the moisture?
Dust is subtle.
Ah, the dust, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's subtle.
It cleans the air.
It cleans the air.
You have a cleaner air.
So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'm cold, but I'm gonna do it. And it was a great experience. But I couldn't do my little project. But you have to do that. The customer has to be always the most important thing for you. And we did that today.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What about take me back to your transition from being in Mexico to being in the United States? Because I mean, my great grandparents came over from Mexico.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to hear much of their story. Both of them passed away when I was very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
Like my great grandmother before I was even speaking, and then my great grandfather, I think when I was like 10 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I would have loved to know more about like what that was like for them. So what was that like for you?
Okay, well, at that time, it's different now, but at that time, I had a wife and 2 kids. Mm. And I felt this big responsibility. And I was working for a construction company. We built houses and buildings, and I was in charge of getting all the permits. So I used to go to the governmental agency and get permission for this or this. And of course, you have to bribe everybody.
Okay.
But I couldn't see a future in any of that.
Why not?
I wanted a future for my kids. I wanted my kids to experience things that I wish I did. For instance,
like what?
To tell you, ever go to Disneyland? For me, going to Disneyland will be the equivalent to you as saying, in about 5 years, we are going to be able to go to the moon. It was impossible. I could never do that. I could never do that and never bring my kids to visit such a place. I never seen such a place, and I would like to do it. Anyway, when things start accumulating, I thought, okay, I can go to the United States and I can work for 6 months, make enough money, come back, purchase a car, and then our quality of life will go higher. That was my whole plan. So I asked for a visa, and surprisingly enough, they gave me a visa, tourist visa. Yeah. So I came in a tourist visa, and I only had a week. That's all they gave me, just 7 days. Of course, I overstayed my visa. But once I landed in the United States, this is the first thing I did. I looked around, and I thought, my country is never going to be like this for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
So if I'm able to, and I'm able to stay, I'm going to definitely bring my family here. I was going to adapt United States as my country. That was my initial goal from the beginning. Once I was here, I thought, there's no way I'm just going to stay 6 months and come back. No way.
Yeah. With that first impression, what was it that struck you with that first impression of getting into the United States and just thinking like, there's no way that my country is going to be like this
ever? I thought, no way.
So what was it about the U.S. that struck you like that?
Very simple things that we take for granted. Okay. My brother went to pick me up. And when he picked me up, the first thing he did, he pulled over into the drive-thru of McDonald's. And I thought I spoke some English because at school I learned some English, and I couldn't believe my brother, with the flawless English that it sounded into my ears, he ordered a Big Mac meal. When I never been in McDonald's in my life, okay? He just pulled in, rolled the window down, order, and when they give us the food, it was the biggest drink I ever seen. It was a humongous one. I thought, oh my God, it just exuded wealth everywhere. And the hamburger was delicious. The French fries, I was enamored with the French fries immediately. My first was, I know what love at first sight is.
Do you still get French? Do you still get McDonald's French fries?
Yeah. McDonald's is, to me, a treat. I don't eat McDonald's very often, but every time I do, I remember the first impression. It's called, in psychology, it's called impronta in Spanish. Impronta is a memory associated with emotion, and those don't disappear. You always, when you do the same thing, you kind of get taste that it was before. The same situation. So I was very impressed. And then my brother driving a car when I didn't even have a car. And I remember my brother was here for 6 months before me. He's already driving a car? Are you kidding me? So everywhere I saw, it just exuded wealth. Exuded wealth.
What did that do in you? I mean, I know that you said that it made you like, I don't want to stay here for 6 months and then go back.
No.
You know, but like, how are you feeling?
It made me feel really poor. Make me feel really poor. And then we went to the place where my brother was living.
Yeah.
Can I describe you the house where he was living?
I hope so.
Okay. And this is gonna sound for you like very normal. Okay. Single house. You know, 2 levels. Single house, 2 levels in Moore Park. In Thousand Oaks. Thousand Oaks. That means this house had a front yard and a lawn around it, and it had a driveway, and it had an automatic garage door.
Yeah.
And it was not fenced. It was not fenced around. And next door, and this is something I noticed, the next door children left their bikes on their lawn. I would never do such a thing because somebody will steal them, right? So I came from a place where a house was next to another one, and there was no lawn around. It was house and then the next house. When I see Gaza, it kind of remind me like, oh my God, you know, that looks kind of like the neighborhood that we had. That's the kind of cultural shock that I had. I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. See, green lawn and not one house just next to another one, but you know, you have space in between. Yeah. So within 24 hours, I'm thinking, I'm not gonna go back. I'm not gonna go back. No way. Yeah. You know, all I need to do is just to improve and adapt and fit in and just integrate, which a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't integrate. It seems like integration is not something they want. Yeah. Well, how can even people from United States who live in Mexico, they integrate. They learn the language. They are, you know, involved. They are just living there. But if you don't integrate, you always what is the word? Set aside.
You don't fit in.
You don't
you're
fit
always
in.
on the outside.
It's called ostracized.
Yeah.
So when people say in TV, oh, we're alienated. Well, you don't want to be alienated. First, learn the language. Learn the language. Learn our cultural differences and adapt to the new cultural differences. If here is not social acceptable that you drink and drive, don't drink and drive. You're in a new country. Learn the things from the new country. If it's not socially accepted that you in your house, you have, music, very loud music after 10 p.m., don't have loud music after 10 p.m. It, to me, is a very simple thing when you have the mentality of integration. And people don't do that. The newcomers, I don't care from where, they seem to come and try to recreate the place they came from. But why do you came from that place if you're gonna just recreate it? Wouldn't it be better to stay in the place if that's what you like? But if you come to a new place, you learn the new things and you integrate into the new things.
So how long did it take you to feel like you were integrated, to feel like you were like that this was your place now?
The moment I became a citizen. Yeah. All the time before, to me, was a practice in survival. I posed this question to my Toastmaster members. I said, what happens if you don't have a driver license? How much your insurance will cost for your car? And they said, well, you can't have an insurance for your car. Correct. So you have to drive without a driver license. Driver licenses less.
So it's the stakes, right? I mean, the stakes were much higher for you.
Absolutely.
Like with everything that you did, and all the people were taking for granted the fact that they could get out on the car and drive.
Obstacles.
Because if they got in an accident or got pulled over, no big deal.
So you don't have a driver license, so you cannot have insurance. What happened when you're driving a car without a driver license and without insurance? Tell me, when you get pulled over by the police for any reason, where's your driver license? I don't have a driver license. Where's your insurance? I don't have insurance. The next step is they impounded your car.
Yeah.
Now, once the car is impounded, how are you going to get it out? You need a way to prove that you are the owner. Means you need a driver license or an ID. You can't have an ID.
No.
So your car is gone.
Yeah.
So back then, the people who were under my situation, they could only buy or purchase or get a clunker.
Yeah.
Very low investment vehicle because you knew sooner or later it's going to end up in the pound.
You're going to lose it, yeah.
You're going to lose it sooner or later. Okay. And then one of my mates asked me, well, how come you didn't have a driver license? I said, you know what you need to have a driver license? You need a social security number. How come you don't have a social security number? Because you're not legal. Wait. Therefore, if you don't have a social security number, you don't have a bank account. How are you going to cash the checks that they are going to pay you? You go to those check cashing stores.
Yeah.
And they take 10%, 5% out of your paycheck. But that's what you do. How are you going to pay your utilities? You go to the post office and buy money orders. So you have to jump all those hoops in order to. But you know what that makes you? Makes you strong. Makes you resilient. That's what that makes you. When you don't have obstacles, you don't develop good legs to jump them. And that's what we do when you born with all those advantages that immigrants don't have. You don't appreciate them. You cannot understand why these people don't do that. Because they can't. Now, you think if I had let's say a bad year, a not a successful year, a bad year in my business, what do you think I'm going to do? Am I going to close the shop? No. I'm just, next year, I'm going to work harder because I know that that's the only way that I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
I don't get deterred by little problems. I don't cry about small inconveniences. I'm used to tackle bigger problems. I'm used to things not going my way. And that's one thing you will never see, that I will cry and then, oh, why me? I don't. And I owe all that resilience to that time when I was in the United States. Why? Not before, because before I was living in a country where everybody speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
I had friends. I knew how to navigate in a society that didn't see me differently. Because everybody's Mexican. All my friends are Mexicans. And when I came to a different country, that's when I developed all those resilience skills.
So how long did it take you to get your wife and your kids?
6 months. I save every penny. And I did the same. They got a visa, a tourist visa, and that's how I got him. I tell you that because you probably don't know this, but when you overstayed your visa, your process of becoming a citizen is way easier. Way easier. It's not penalized as much because you didn't enter illegally. You enter legally, although you overstayed your visa. So we have to pay a fine for overstayed our visa, about $1,500 per person. So it's a fine, like a ticket.
Yeah.
But it's not in the same regard as when you cross illegally. Then you're violating the law willingly. I don't know. It's just, that's how it is.
It's just different. Yeah.
It's different. I didn't know this. I just didn't want my family, running across, because I didn't run across. I came in a plane. My family came in a plane.
Yeah.
And when I went to pick them up, I took them to McDonald's.
What did they think? What was it like for you to see your family then go through that?
Back then, after 6 months of going to school and everything, I was able to say, "Give me, please."
Did you put on a little weight from all that McDonald's you've been
no,
eating?
not really.
No, okay,
because I work a lot.
Yeah.
No, but I was able to order the meal.
English, yeah.
And my wife was very impressed.
Oh, I bet she was.
She's like, "Oh my God, this guy speaks English." I just practiced that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I brought him in.
Yeah.
And now my expenditures went.
Yep.
And what I did is adapt. And I adapt. I work extra. I convince my boss, "Hey, why don't we just work Saturdays?" Well, nobody wants to work Saturdays. And I said, "Do you want to work Saturdays?" He said, "Yeah, but nobody wants to work." And I said, "I work with you. Just pay me for the day and I work with you." "Really? You're not going to get tired after a couple of weeks?" And I said, I never had 2 days off in my entire life. I don't even know what that is like. Until I'm working with you, now we have 2 days off. I don't know what to do. 1 day is sufficient for me. I'm just antsy the next day. We start working Saturdays.
Yeah.
And then everybody start joining us. But everybody blame me. "Oh, it's your fault." Anyway, since then, and I can tell you exactly, it was 1988. And the first 6 months, then I brought my family. And once my family was here, I thought I need more money. And this is the way to do it. So we started working Saturday. So it was in 1988, about in June 1988. Since that day, I had never stopped working Saturdays. I worked Monday through Saturdays every single week. And when I had my slowest times, then I worked Monday through Sunday. Thus, I never took vacations.
Yeah.
Vacations. Now that my family grow, grew, and now they are adults. Then I took my first trip to Taiwan. Yeah.
Why Taiwan?
But I was what? I was 55 years old. And here,
Did
here
you?
my son went there to
Okay.
teach English.
Hmm.
He went to teach English. He wanted to go out of the United States.
Yeah.
And he went to Taiwan and he loved it. And he loved it so much that he like, Dad, you gotta come. You gotta come. And I didn't want to go. No, if I go, how long am I gonna have to shut the shop? No, 2 weeks. I can't do 2 weeks. It's just never done it. Never done it in my life.
Did you almost feel like guilty?
Yes.
Like
Yes,
I can't.
I used to tell him, I said, it's not how much money I'm going to spend, it's how much money I'm going to stop earning. Every time you stop doing, let's say you work for a week, let's say, you don't get paid for that week. Vacations, that's the,
Yeah.
I'm a self-employed. I don't even know what that means. Vacation. So I closed the shop for 2 weeks and I went there. And it just opened my eyes. It's so advanced, so nice, so utterly different than United States that I started getting upset, angry. I thought, how is it that we land in Taipei? It's called Taichung International Airport. And you so clean, so beautifully white. Everything is really bright. Okay, and then you go to customs, and in 5 minutes you're in. Especially if you're American.
Yeah.
American. Welcome. I had a blue passport, so I enter, and then you go and get your luggage, and you just follow everybody walking, and you go through a door, and there is right there is the subway. The subway. Yeah, doesn't cost anything. You just go in. Well, you just go in. And then you decide in which station you're going to exit. So we were going to the main train station. Main train station. That's what my son said. We're exiting the main train station. Very clean, everybody very quiet. There's no people talking on the phone. There's no music. You don't see any, people don't even eat. You're not supposed to eat or drink anything. And then we arrived to the main train station and we exit and we walk through corridors full of people. And all this is underground. Okay, nothing is above ground, it's underground. And we walk and we arrive to the HSR, high-speed rail.
Ooh.
High-speed rail. Why? Because from Taipei, we're going to go all the way to Kaohsiung, which is at the end of the island.
And that's where your son was?
That's where he lived.
Lived.
So from here to the end of the island is about 6 to 7 hours in train. And it's probably a little similar or a little bit longer on car. Okay? But we're taking the HSR, high-speed rail. It took us 2 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
From here to the end. I have never seen, experience, rode a high-speed rail. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It's just this very futuristic train, and you're waiting, and then these people go in with masks and just clean everything. And I'm like, what are they doing? My son said they're cleaning before you enter, so everything is sanitized. No COVID or anything. This is
just what they do.
Just what they do. Really quick. It's like little ants. They go, and then it's done. So we enter, and I'm expecting to feel a lot of movement. Nothing.
Wow.
It's like even more stable than riding a plane. It's really, really stable. I mean, you don't feel anything, and you just see the speed by looking at the post. How fast are we going? And it says 250 miles per hour. and you feel nothing. I was so impressed. I'm like, why don't we have something like that in the United States?
Mm-hmm.
And my son said, oh, in the United States it's different because something that is, what did he call? I don't remember. The fact that the government cannot take your land
Yep.
and build upon it.
Mm-hmm.
In Taiwan, you can own a house, but you don't own the land. Let me say that again. You own the house, but you don't own the land. So the government said, you know, we're going to make train lane here, and we're going to have to relocate you.
Yeah.
And they move you away. They pay you whatever the cost of the house is, or maybe they get you a new house, but the land is theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no opposition. There's no some old lady filing a lawsuit because, 3 generations have been living there and there's no way I'm going to give up my house. So they can really rapidly do public works.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how fast they work, but they work because they have no opposition whatsoever.
But then they could take your land.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now
They
what
could
would
be
you?
like
What would
Caesar.
you? Would you trade your personal rights or your property
Yeah.
to the convenience of the government being able to build stuff for public interest really quick?
No,
No,
not me.
not me. Yes.
I wouldn't
So
do
this
that.
will never work in the United States.
No.
That's why building that high-speed rail from San Francisco to Los Angeles is taking so long and so many, and it's plagued with corruption.
Yeah.
And it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Because
Costs are just through the roof on that thing.
They don't have we don't have that, but we have our rights and our which we appreciate a lot, especially when you didn't have them.
Yeah.
So thus, my very extreme feelings or convictions about what your civil rights are, and why I don't want the government to infringe upon those. Because I've seen the other side.
See what happens.
I've seen it. Yes. So yeah, that experience was eye-opening, and from there, I'm grateful that I didn't have the experience of traveling so much until later, because now I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you for inviting
and sharing
me.
your story, man.
Thank you.
And whoever wants to get in touch with you,
Absolutely.
What's the best way that they could get in touch with
Just,
you and the company?
Look for me on the internet. Just type window tinting Cesar Moorpark.
Window tinting season more.
Window
Cesar
tinting
Moorpark.
because that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Where am I located? Moorpark. What is my name? Cesar. And then it will guide you directly to my website. Now, it might land other people who advertise more. They call it organic. They go on top. I don't care. You can go through a couple guys, and then you finally will be with me, where it says Advanced Tinting by Cesar LLC, and that's it. There's no 2 Cesars. There's just one.
Awesome.
If you encounter any Cesar and is younger, then that's not me.
That's not him.
If it doesn't have white hair, that's not me.
Awesome, Cesar. Well, thanks, brother.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course,
Thanks.
of course.